Well, hiya, BookTube. Bill Ruttenberg here with the Ruttenberg Library. It is Tuesday, and here on BookTube, we always do Tag Tuesday. And the tag that is going around right now that I definitely need to get done is the Mid-Year Freakout Tag for the year 2025. Now, if you're not familiar with this particular tag, this tag basically looks at the first half of your reading year. It's kind of a reassessment of everything, what's been good, what's been bad, and then some of the other questions are looking forward to the second half of the year. What books are you looking forward to tackling? And I've been watching some of the videos going around. I watched Patrice over on 2 Minutes on Books, one of my reading buddies. She did hers and got it uploaded, and so I just got done watching that, and I was like, there's my inspiration. Thank you, Patrice. So go ahead and get my tag done. So I've got all my questions all wrote out on paper here, and so if you see me looking down, that's what I'm looking at. And then I got my stacks of books here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So the first question on the Mid-Year Freakout Tag for the year 2025 is, what was the best book you've read so far this year? So this was kind of a hard one. So I guess maybe I should preface all of this with, I've had several good books that I've read, but what I tried to do is I went through my first half of my reading list for this year, and I just picked out all of my favorite books, and then I tried to match them to the questions as best as they would match. And so for the best book that you've read so far this year, I just finished today, so this was perfect timing, Candace Millard's book, Destiny of the Republic, A Tale of Madness, Medicine, and the Murder of a President. And of course, that's James Garfield on there. And this is basically the story of the assassination of the second assassination that we had in our country's history. Of course, Lincoln being the first and Garfield being the second. And it's the story of the assassin himself, the president himself as he rose to political power, and then the beef that he had with the president, or I don't know, it's kind of a weird assassination thing. He almost, even though he assassinated him or shot him, it wasn't necessarily that he had a huge beef. He did, but he didn't. I don't know. It was very interesting how Candace Millard wrote out this story. And then, of course, it's talking about, in the subtitle, the medicine of the time period and how little they knew, and who really assassinated the president. Was it the person who shot the bullet, or was it the doctors who basically injected the germs with their fingers and the different probing tools that they had during the time period? So that becomes a big question. And so anyway, without rambling any further, this was a really good book. She did a really nice job of telling the story. This is usually a time period that I don't read a ton about, because in my 8th grade class we get to the assassination of Lincoln and then a little bit of the post-Civil War stuff. And then my next time that I'm teaching American history is right after this time period with immigration stuff and immigration coming to the United States. There's a little bit of a gap in my classes, my particular classes that I teach. So I don't always get to read a lot on this, just because a lot of times I do my reading based on what I'm covering in class. So it was really nice to look at this time period, and she did a heck of a job with her narrative. I was never ever bored in this book. It was, and it read really fast, and it was kind of hard to put down. Highly recommend that book. So there's the first one on the list. So question number 2, what was the best sequel that you've read so far this year? Now, this was kind of a hard one, because I didn't want to use what I think is maybe the only, well, no, that would end up being, so what I chose for it was not necessarily a sequel. It was more of a series. So many of you who read middle grade books are familiar with Gary Paulson, the author Gary Paulson. He writes adventure stories, a lot of adventure stories for young boys. I mean, anybody could read them, but I know a lot of it is aimed at young boys. And I was one of those young boys that fell in love with his stories. One of my favorite books was the book Hatchet. And I read that in 6th grade, or we had actually a teacher read it to us. And then over the years, I've read it several times on my own just because I absolutely love it. And they did a sequel to that book that was called The River. And I, for the longest time, up until this year, thought there was only the 2 books in that series with the main character's name was Brian. And Gary Paulson actually wrote 3 more to that series, and I was able to, I figured that out, and then I read those at the beginning of this year, and they're so good. His writing obviously is meant for a younger reader, but at the same time, as an adult, I can still read that and appreciate that. And I do not have a copy of the book with me. And I say read. I actually did those on audio just because I did not have a hard copy with me. So Brian's Winter, Brian's Return, and Brian's Hunt were the last 3 in that series, and I really, really liked those. And I know that I have Hatchet upstairs, and I'm pretty positive I do. I have The River upstairs, but I don't have these other 3. I'm going to have to find those and add them to my collection because these are definitely some favorites that I will return to in the future. So, third question in the mid-year freakout tag is, what is a new release you haven't read yet, but you want to? Now, I've got 3 of those. For Father's Day this month, what was that, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, whatever that was, my daughters and my wife got me the new Ron Chernow book on Mark Twain. And it is a chunky monkey. It is on the list for this year, but it's a couple books down the TBR list. I'm going to get to it, but it won't be for a few to several weeks, but I am going to read this. Really excited to have that. Thank you to my wife for picking that up for me for Father's Day, and thank you to my daughters. So that's one. Another new release, and I cannot remember exactly when. It's fairly recent release, and it's called So Far Gone by Jess Walter. And I got this one from the library. I've started this. I've got the first chapter read, and you can tell the chapters are huge. They're like 50-page chapters. But really good book about a guy who has some issues with his family and some differences of opinion, and gets really mad at a family event and decides to go live by himself way off in the wilderness, off the grid, and he has his grandchildren come back into his life, and so it's all about that. And that's as far as I've got. I can't tell you much more just because of that. But definitely the book definitely has some political stuff thrown into it, pretty heavy. But I am reading the story for what it is, and I'm enjoying the story itself. So got to finish that one. Just renewed it at the library today, so I'll be good to go on that one. And then the third one is a book that the publisher had sent me. It's Rick Atkinson's The Fate of the Day, which is volume 2 in his American Revolutionary trilogy. Just came out, what was it, a month or 2 ago, maybe 3 months ago. When did it come out? April 29th. April, May, June. Yeah, so a couple months ago. Came out a couple months ago, and real excited to dig into this. The first one in the series, The British Are Coming, I absolutely loved the book. I thought it was wonderful, and I sat and I waited and I waited and I waited and I waited, and he finally came out with the next book. What was that? Was there a 4-year wait on this one? It had to be at least 3, if not 4-year wait on this one, and I'm real excited to have this, and hopefully I can get it going before the summer's done. Those are my plans, to get all 3 of those done before the summer. Now, I do only have a advanced reader copy, got an ARC, but that's okay with me. I'll start with this, and then when I find a finished copy for maybe a little cheaper price tag down the line, I will go ahead and pick that up. All right, so that's question number 3. Number 4, the most anticipated release for the second half of the year. So all of you out there that follow my channel, you know that I am a John Grisham fan, and so I am always anticipating that next release. And the next one is supposed to come out October 21st, which is about a week after my birthday, and that's usually my birthday present is the new John Grisham, because it always comes out about a week and a half after my birthday. Sometimes the week of my birthday, but it's going to be called The Widow. And this one is going to be, I think, a little bit more of a mystery rather than a thriller, if I remember correctly when I was reading some of the stuff on the book. So that's my most anticipated at this moment. I'm sure there's more if I get to looking, but that's the one that was right off the top of my head. Number 5, what's been your biggest disappointment? Okay, so I really enjoyed the book Night by Elie Wiesel, and he's got a whole bunch of books that he has written, and I've read a couple of them, and I've enjoyed, like I said, I enjoyed Night. So I saw the book on my audio stuff. It was called Hostage, and I thought, well, I like Elie Wiesel. I'm going to go ahead and give it a try, and I struggled with it. I didn't like that one nearly as much as I liked Night. And so that's probably my biggest disappointment. It's not that it was bad. It's just, and maybe I just wasn't in the mood for it. But I did not enjoy it as much as I did some of his other books. Number 6, what was your biggest surprise? So my biggest surprise was actually a John Grisham, Framed. Astonishing True Stories of Wrongful Convictions, and he did this one with Jim McCloskey, and I put this one as my biggest surprise just because the only other nonfiction that John Grisham did, I did not really enjoy it all that much. It's not that it was terrible, I like his fiction way better than his nonfiction, and so I went into this kind of I ended up enjoying it quite a bit by the end of it, and it just takes several different cases of people who were wrongfully convicted and tells their story, and it kind of just makes you shake your head like, how in the world were you even convicted? Let alone, I understand sometimes all the evidence points to one person, solid evidence, and sometimes that's not the case. I was watching the show Blue Bloods last night, and that was on the episode I was watching, that was one of the cases. And so I kind of understand that sometimes, but with the cases in here, some of these are true railroad jobs where people were thrown in jail that should never have been put in jail, and just made me shake my head. But anyway, that was my biggest surprise, and like I said, I enjoyed that book, and it was a fast read. Let's see, favorite new author. And this could be a debut or new to you. A debut or new to you. So for me, I chose new to me. And for this book, I chose Iris Chang. She is a Chinese lady who wrote about Chinese history, and I've got a couple of books by her, and I just read The Rape of Nanking, The Forgotten Holocaust of World War II, and it's basically a story of all the atrocities by the Japanese towards the people in the city of Nanking in China, and right before World War II. And of course, a lot of that stuff carried on through World War II, but it was talking about the particular time when they invaded the city, and oh my goodness, this was a powerful story. Iris Chang's writing was tremendously good, very fast moving, kept you hooked into the material. I have another one by her that is about Irish not Irish, I did not say that. Chinese immigration to the United States, and I'm anticipating reading that sometime. I don't know if it'll be this year. It might be next year, but I'm looking forward to that. So that is my author that is new to me. Now, unfortunately, she did pass away. Had some depression issues and just a sad ending to a truly gifted writer's life. But there won't be a whole lot of, obviously, there won't be any more books coming out by her. So, next question. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. My daughter's in the other room watching Paw Patrol, and she had to come through. My little library area here is in between rooms, and she had to come through to go do something on the other side of the house. But anyway, she has went back through, so let's go ahead and get this tag going again. So number 8 is the newest fictional crush. This is kind of an odd, weird question. And I've found that there's a whole lot of booktubers that feel the same way. I know Patrice said it. I know like Steve Donahue says it. You know, we don't crush over characters. But anyway, so the way I took it, the way I'm going to take this is for my newest fictional crush is characters that are strong characters. And I'm going to go strong female characters that I can admire. And for that, I chose Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. And this is, I got to get her name. I can't remember her name. It's the Marsh girl, Kaya. And she lives in the marshes in North Carolina. And she just has a really rough childhood. And she's pretty inspirational, her character is, and just her ability to survive and be able to persevere. And she overcomes a lot of obstacles, a lot of you could say bullying by people around her. And I admire her character for her perseverance. So that is my newest fictional crush. So let's see here. Oh, I had one other. I'm going to backtrack because I actually had 2 new authors that were favorite new authors, and this is another one that's new to me. And the one I chose is the other one that I chose for number 7 was Karen Abbott, and her book Liar, Temptress, Soldier, Spy: 4 Women Undercover in the Civil War. And I just got done. You can tell I tabbed the heck out of that book. I just got done buddy reading this with Patrice over on 2 Minutes on Books. Go check her channel out, by the way. Really good channel. We literally just got done today with the buddy read, and it's all about Belle Boyd, Rose Greenhow, Emma Edmonds, and Elizabeth Van Loo. And so 2 Union, 2 Confederate spies during the Civil War, spies in various ways. Emma Edmonds was more of a soldier in that respect, but excellent book. I learned a lot in there. I knew a lot about Rose Greenhow, but the other 3 I did not know a lot about. I mean, I knew about them, but not a lot about them, if that makes any sense. So this was real good. I got some stuff I can add to my Civil War unit with my 8th grade kids. And I'm always looking for women's history to add into my my teaching stuff, just because, I'm always telling the girls, I'm sorry, men wrote the history books early on, and that's why women get left out a lot. And so we're always trying to find ways to add women back into the narrative because, let's face it, they're half the population, so they should be in the narrative. And so this is going to be definitely one way that I can continue to do that in my classroom. So I did number 8. So we skipped down to number 9, newest favorite character. Okay, so I chose, this is a couple more female characters actually. I recently read Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulik. And sorry if I'm not pronouncing that right, but this is all about a young lady who becomes addicted to drugs, and she is recovering drug addict, and in her work towards continuing her sobriety and moving on in life. She gets a job as a babysitter for this couple, and they have one child, and she uncovers a whole lot of stuff in this thriller. And it was an excellent, excellent book, and she was a good character. I thought, always trying to do what's right after, starting out not so good with her choices in life. She had a rough instance early in life that caused her to make bad choices, and but she was recovering. She learning from her mistakes, and I appreciated that. And it's a good thriller. If you haven't checked this book out, check that out. I ended up getting that one at Dollar Tree for $1.25. So it was an excellent, excellent buy. And then the second book that I had for that, and I don't have a copy of this because I had to get it from the library, and I will never in my life remember the name of the character. I apologize. But, and it's actually a couple of women, but there's one main woman through it. And it is the book, The Women, by Kristen Hanna. And it's the story of some Vietnam vets. And the main character running through the narrative, she comes back home after serving a couple tours in Vietnam. She lost her loved one over there. She falls in love, loses him, and she is trying to recover from that. And it is a struggle. She's got forms of PTSD, but yet the veterans hospital won't accept her because women didn't fight. I'm going to put some air quotes on there. Didn't fight over there. People were not recognizing that. They were telling the public women weren't over there when they actually were. Not a lot, but there was a handful of them over there and acting as nurses and stuff. And her character is basically refused help at the hospital because she's told that she's lying, basically. And anyway, she's struggling with PTSD and gets into all kinds of issues, and you just feel bad for the character. But she ends up persevering, not just because of herself and her own will, but she has a strong network around her. And I thought it was a excellent story, and Kristen Hanna's that particular book, and it deserved all the hype that it got. I thought it was really well done. Number 10, a book that made you cry. Now, this is a book that I got at the library. My librarian had suggested it to me, and it's called The 5 Wishes of Mr. Murray McBride by Joe Seipel. That book was awesome. It's about 222 pages, something like that. So it's a small book. It doesn't take you long once you get hooked into the narrative. After the first couple chapters, you got to give it a couple chapters to get hooked. But once you're hooked, you're hooked. And a book that made me cry. I literally, the last hour and a half of reading it, I cried at the dinner table while I was reading it early in the morning while I was drinking my coffee. I cried the last 40 pages straight crying. And I had to stop, pull my glasses off, wipe my eyes. I was struggling. It is a very, very good, touching, sentimental, funny book. It was excellent. Highly recommend it. That book was The 5 Wishes of Mr. Murray McBride. And I also read the sequel to that. Now, I didn't like the sequel quite as much. Not that it was bad. The first one was really, really good. The second one was good, but not as good as the first one. And I looked it up online because I was like, man, I almost want to get that one for my own collection because it's good. And I found out there's a third one in the series. There's actually one more. And so I was talking to my librarian about her getting that into the library because I don't know if she realized there was a third one. So hopefully we can get that. But The 5 Wishes of Mr. Murray McBride, it is a touching story. Go find that one. Number 11, book that made you happy. Oh, this one was easy when I got to look it through the list because I'm thinking happy. It makes me laugh, makes me feel good for the character. And that's the old classic Forrest Gump by Winston Groom. I got this a couple of years ago, and I finally got it out earlier this year. And this book is so tremendously funny, and you absolutely love and adore Forrest Gump, the character of Forrest Gump, just like you do in the movie. Now, if you go to read this, just be prepared, because it does not, the book and the movie do not necessarily, they have the same ideas going, but the storyline does not necessarily follow each other. There's a lot of good stuff in this book that they never talk about in the movie at all. And yeah, it's hilarious. This book just kept me laughing and laughing and laughing, and there's just so many dumb things that happen to Forrest Gump that he's in the wrong place at the wrong time in a lot of cases. But then also on the flip side of it, he'll find himself in the right place at the right time, and he has some fortunate things happen in his life. Highly recommend this. This will keep you reading. It will keep you laughing. This is one of those, like, you're reading late at night and you're like, man, what time is it? I got to go to bed. You'll keep reading this till 2 and 3 in the morning to finish it. It's really, really good. Highly recommend it. Let's see, number 12, most beautiful book that you've bought so far this year or received. So I chose one of each. So the one that I bought was a recent buy, and my beauty might be different than other people's beauty. I might want to throw that out there. But I just love this cover. I thought it was so well done. No Man's Land, Fiction from a World at War, 1914 to 1918. And I just thought that was such a classic cover, and I'm looking forward to digging into this book. I don't know if I'm going to try to do it before summer is done, or if I'm going to wait till like around November when I'm October, November, when I'm doing World War I in my classroom. I haven't figured out. Maybe I'll start it now and then finish it then. I don't know, but I would really like to get to this one. But I love that one. Thought that was really well done by whoever put the cover together. And then the other one is one that I received, and this was sent to me by the University of Chicago Press, and it is The Buried City, Unearthing the Real Pompeii. I like it for its cover. I thought that was very, very well done. By the way, this is by Gabriel Zuchtriegel. Hopefully I'm not butchering the name too bad. But I did it for the cover, but I also did it for all the pictures inside. It's got a lot of the pictures of the artwork that still remains at Pompeii. And this is a favorite of mine, favorite subject, just because my wife had went there over a summer trip in college. And she brought back pictures, and I kind of fell in love with it. And I've loved talking about that in my classroom with my sixth graders. We do a unit. I call it my natural disasters unit, but it's basically a basic geography, the powers of Earth, looking at wind, water, all that kind of stuff. And we talk about volcanoes, and so that's an easy one to bring up in class that keeps the kids oohing and awing when they see it. All right, so that's number 12. Here's the last question, BookTube. Number 13, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? So what do I need to get finished up? And this one I need to get finished up soon. I gotta get motivated on some of these. It's not that they're bad books. I just, for whatever reason, I'm like, I just don't want to read it right now. So I gotta get these done. This is Crazy 08. I started this, was it last summer? Maybe it was 2 summers ago. I can't even remember. I started it and I put it down. Then I started it again this year, and I have put it down, not because it's bad. It's a good book. I just keep finding other things I'm reading. And so I got to get this one done. This was sent to me by Todd, my good friend up in Michigan. He sent that to me, and sent a couple books to me, and that was one of the baseball ones he sent. So got to get that one done. I got to get this book, The Peaceable Kingdom. I'm buddy reading this with my oldest daughter, and this is one of her favorite books from high school that they read in their English class. They read a chapter out of it. She read the whole book, and now we're reading it together. I've never read it before, by Jan de Hartog, I think a Dutch writer, if I remember right. But looking forward to reading that. I got to get another chapter. She sent me my message on the chapter we're on, and that was 3 days ago. I'm behind. And then I got 3 more here that I need to get done. I need to get 1177. I started this earlier in the year for Histoathon 2025. So it was for the first quarter. I got a quarter of the way through it and then stopped. Got to reading other things. Another one for first quarter Histoathon was SPQR by Mary Beard. And I got a quarter to a third of the way through. Got to finish that, and both of them are good books. I just get sidetracked with other good books. And then my daughter and I, in our long-going escapade of reading all the Boxcar Children that we've been doing over the last 2 years. So if you follow me on Goodreads, I've told this story in other videos, but when my daughter and I, we read before bed, and now that summer's here, we read in the middle of the afternoon, and we've been reading the Boxcar Children. That was one of my all-time favorite books when I was a little kid. I read a bunch of them, not even close to all of them. I thought that was the case until as an adult I got to figuring out how many there actually are. So it's been our goal to read all of them in the library. And so our local library here in town, we're on the last one. We've read an entire shelf full, and this is The Mystery at the Dog Show. So my daughter and I have got to read this one. So if you've seen Boxcar Children books popping up on my Goodreads, that's how I do it. As we are reading them together, when we finish it, I go on to Goodreads to mark it off, and I let her choose, the 5-star rating. How many stars do you give it? And it's a way of getting her active in reading and keeping her connected, and it's something we can do together. And so we've got to get that, and then we're going to our other local town that we go to the library to once a week or every other week. They've got a bunch of boxcars, so and they've got the ones that our local library does not have. And so we are reading those as well. And we've read a handful of those, but we want to complete all of those too. That's kind of our goal. So matter of fact, on her own today, her and her mom went to one of the library functions, and she brought 3 of them home from the adventure series of the Boxcar Children, all excited. Daddy, look. And so that's going to be a lot of fun to read with her. But anyway, I'm rambling now. That is the Mid-Year Freakout Tag for the year 2025. What are you guys reading out there on BookTube? Let me know. How has the first half of your reading for this year been? Has it been successful? Have you got a lot of stuff you're looking forward to, or are you in burnout mode? What's the deal? Is it good or bad? Let me know down in the comments section. Thank you for watching, and as always, until next time, happy reading.